I first want to start off this video by saying I wish the very best for Rick Smith and his wife. I mean, and a lot of people wanted Rick Smith gone, but that's just not the way anyone would have really liked it to happen. But it does seem like O'Brien has won the power struggle for right now. And Rick Smith is taking pretty much a year off. It's what was implied. Rick Smith is coming back as the GM. That is yet to be known, but he is coming back as I want to say it was executive vice president, and that has absolutely nothing to do with the personnel. So Rick Smith, if he comes back, might not be the GM anymore. And I say might not, because the way I see it is Bill O'Brien has one more year. They're probably going to give him an extension because, I mean, coaches never coach with 1 year left on their contract. That just doesn't happen. So O'Brien's probably going to get an extension, but in reality, 2018 is going to be his year to prove himself. If the Texans perform well, and when Rick Smith comes back, and Rick Smith isn't the GM anymore, but if Bill O'Brien and the Texans perform bad in 2018, then I'm pretty sure Rick Smith comes back, Bill O'Brien gets fired or traded or whatever, and Rick Smith resumes as the GM for the Texans. And unfortunately, that is the way things are going to go. I don't think Rick Smith or Bill O'Brien are ever going to be working on the Texans together again. I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, there was multiple reports that their relationship was toxic. Kind of a funny way to say it, but those were the reports. So, I'm pretty sure those reports are true. Because, you know, there was the whole Ryan Mallett cutting him incident. There was the whole O'Brien didn't want Osweiler situation. And, you know, just a bunch of other stuff you saw on Hard Knocks. O'Brien wanted Charles James, and I believe Rick Smith wanted Jamal Roll. I think is who it was. So yeah, there's like a few little disagreements here and there, but O'Brien wanted the team ran one way, and Rick Smith wanted it a different way. So O'Brien ended up winning that power struggle. And now the Texans are searching for a new GM, possibly a long-term GM, and O'Brien is indeed the one, or is involved at least, in who is going to be this GM. And honestly, I don't want the GM to be just a yes man. I want someone that will, you know, tell O'Brien something if they disagree with him. I don't want, you know, O'Brien says, oh, let's go draft a kicker in the first round. And then, you know, the GM's like, okay, you know, I don't want that. I want someone that knows what he's doing and doesn't agree with everything O'Brien has to say. I mean, I'm not saying he has to be like Rick Smith and, like, you know, have different views, but I just don't want O'Brien to have full control of the team, like 100%. Like, he can make the final decisions, but not full 100% control of the team. Now, there is some names being thrown around out there for the Texans GM spot. There's, of course, what's his name? Our current assistant GM, Ray the Third, which I do not want here at all, for two reasons. One, he's Rick Smith's guy. If we're gonna get a new GM, do not get someone that is, you know, associated with Rick Smith, is gonna be pretty much having the same guy. And number two, He comes from the Colts. Yeah, their roster's a mess. No, not him. Other guys are, of course, Nick Caserio from New England. This guy has been with New England for a while, and this is probably the most likely candidate. But there are reports that he said if he's ever offered a GM job for any team, he'd only want one coach, and that's Josh McDaniels. But I'm pretty sure he'd make an exception for Bill O'Brien, and it's not like he's got a choice, because Bill O'Brien is involved in the coaching search, and at the end of the day, Bill O'Brien's going to be on top of him, which is how it should be, in my opinion. And another guy that's really being talked about is Brian Gaine, a guy that apparently Rick Smith fired. It had came out that he just left for Buffalo, but it never made sense because this guy made like a lateral movement and went on to Buffalo, and he was highly respected in the organization. So apparently Rick Smith fired him, according to John McClain, and yeah, I'm not sure if I would really want him back. Again, he was involved with Rick Smith, and even though he's highly respected by the organization, it has been in the organization before. I just think we got to look elsewhere. We got to have a different view on the team. If we're going to do this GM change, do it right. Do not, promote anyone that's already there. Do not, bring a guy that's been here before. I want a GM to come here with a fresh set of eyes, with a different perspective, a different view. And, of course, there's some other names thrown around as well as, Monty Ossenfort as well from New England. And there's also a guy from Green Bay, Brian Gutekunst. I don't know, he's got a weird name, but I believe we should go after him. Why? Because we already have so many ties to New England. Brian Gaine and Ray III have already been involved with Houston. So this guy from Green Bay is, a completely different, fresh set of eyes. I just think that's what we need if we're going to go after a GM. Just bring in someone brand new, someone that hasn't been around the organization, someone that's not familiar with people in the organization, or with Bill O'Brien at least. And it's not a knock on Bill O'Brien. It's not that I don't trust Bill O'Brien. I 100% believe that keeping Bill O'Brien was the right choice. But I just feel like having a different set of eyes from a different perspective will really help this team achieve more in the future, as opposed to, having pretty much Rick Smith number 2. Because although I am, a Rick Smith supporter, I do think Rick has done a good job for the most part. If you're going to do a GM change, I just feel like it should be a completely different person. Fresh set of eyes, bring in a new culture, and that's another thing. Apparently, the Texans' culture is about to go for a complete change. And if you guys thought the Texans were predictable, well, this offseason is about to be a whole lot different, because in the past, we know what a Rick Smith move would be. Like a Rick Smith move would be, let's go ahead and pick up one good free agent and another decent one and call it a day. Like, we don't know if our next GM and Bill O'Brien are going to go balls deep in free agency. And, in the past, Rick Smith probably would have been conservative and traded a third round pick and, I don't know, a fourth to go up into the second. Well, like, we don't know if our new GM and Bill O'Brien are going to want to trade up in the first round, somehow trade up in the first round to take an offensive lineman. Like, we don't know that. Like, we have no idea what kind of culture change this team is gonna have. Like, it's pretty much like this is Bill O'Brien's team. Like, they pretty much threw him the keys here. That's it. It's yours. Like, at first it was Kubiak's, and then I guess like for these past 4 years, it's kind of been Rick Smith's team, and now we finally get to see what Bill O'Brien really wants. Because I do feel like there is some bad blood between Rick and O'Brien. I just feel like they're two different people. I feel like O'Brien wants this and Rick wants that. So, who knows? Maybe this is a great thing. And am I disappointed of the Rick Smith thing? No, because there was reports that O'Brien was going to use it's either me or him. And although I do think they both should have, stuck around together, I think they would have been able to do well. But if I really had to choose between Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien, I would choose Bill O'Brien 20 times out of 20. Because I feel like what he was doing with Deshaun Watson was just truly special. I feel like they're a perfect combination. I feel like they're legitimately the next Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. So, those are my thoughts on the whole Rick Smith being gone thing. Bill O'Brien probably winning the power struggle. And comment down below what you guys think about this whole situation. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.